Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about a major development in the security architecture of the Middle East. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have signed a mutual defense agreement pact. And it is a game changer in many ways. It impacts not just the regional security, but it also impacts global architecture of security worldwide. It is a major signal and message to Israel, to the US. It also has some very serious implications for India. And we will talk about all these three things. What does this Saudi Pakistan pact mean for Saudi Arabia and Pakistan? What does it mean for Israel, for the US, for India, and also for China? So those are the things that I'm going to discuss in discussion. And after that, if there are some serious questions or comments, I will be happy to address them. But before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. So let's jump right away and look at what is the agreement about. So this is the press release that the Saudi press agency has issued. And I've highlighted the critical part. It says, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and the Pakistan Prime Minister signed a strategic mutual defense agreement. This agreement, which reflects the shared commitment of both nations to enhance their security and to achieving security and peace in the region and the world, aims to develop aspects of defense cooperation between the two countries and strengthen joint deterrence against any aggression. This is, I think, the most important part of it. The agreement states that any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both. I mean, this is a copybook, textbook style of how defense agreements are made. And so this is an important development. So what does it mean? So for Saudi Arabia, this is a major development because of what happened recently with regards to Israel attacking Qatar. So Israel attacked Qatar, an American ally, which had an American base, and yet America did absolutely nothing to protect Qatar from Israeli attacks. Not only that, Donald Trump claims that he warned Qatar, but the warning came too late. It came even as the missiles were landing. So it was very clear that the United States, which I'm sure would have had intelligence if Israelis were going to attack Qatar, basically betrayed Qatar. The Qataris have been depending on America's security umbrella for a long time. They have invested billions of dollars, I think about $8 billion. They have hosted a military base of the United States. I think the US has about 10,000 troops stationed in Qatar. These troops did nothing to protect Qatar. They did not fire. They did not try to block. The Patriot missiles did not come to the aid of Qatar. So the message that the Gulfis and the Arabs have realized is that you cannot anymore trust and rely on the United States as your defense. But the biggest thing that has happened is this. What has happened is that now, after a long period, Israel has become a threat to the Gulf rather than Iran. The Gulfis had moved towards the US because of the fear of Iran. They had even opened dialogue with Israel, the Abrahamic Accords. All of these were driven by fear of Iran and a desire for protection from the US. It had nothing to do with Israel. The Abrahamic Accords are not about Israel. They are about making America happy, and that is the price that America has demanded from the Gulf countries. You want our help, you want our protection, suck up to Israel. And so the Arabs sucked up to Israel and they got nothing. That is the message. In 2019, when the Iranians attacked Saudi Arabia, America did not go to the Saudi defense the way the Saudis would have expected and demanded, given their agreements with the US. And so under Donald Trump, Saudi Arabia was attacked by Iran in 2019, and Qatar was attacked by Israel in 2025, and the US did really nothing. The US did not even condemn Israel. I mean, Donald Trump has expressed his unhappiness and anger at what happened, but he did not condemn Israel. In fact, on a couple of statements have been issued in such a way that it's like saying, we understand why Israel did this. And if you listen to Marco Rubio, he's clearly aligned with Israel. He has no problem with what happened. And on top of that, Israel threatened to attack Qatar and other countries in the region again. So basically, this is a vote of no confidence in the United States. The Gulfies do not trust the United States anymore, and they're looking to diversify their strategic situation. It is a pity that a nation of 300 million people, that is what the Arabs are, they are unable to defend themselves. And it's also a pity with a lot of talk of Islam and Islamic solidarity and Ummah. The Muslims nations, which are 57 Muslim majority countries, have not been able to come up with a collective security arrangement that NATO has. But this is the first genuine collective security arrangement in the Muslim world in the modern era. And that is a huge thing. The Saudi Arabia and Pakistan recognize. So there has been an informal alliance between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan for decades. Pakistan has been providing some kind of a security umbrella for the Saudis for a long time, but it was never formalized in this way as it is now. And it sends a signal that the US is not going to be relied upon, and Saudi Arabia, and it is quite possible that other Gulf countries might now follow suit and sign the treaty with Saudi Arabia. So what does Saudi Arabia get? Saudi Arabia gets a Muslim country's support which can fight. There are very few Muslim countries which can fight. And I think the fighting forces are limited to Turkey, Iran, and Pakistan. These are the only three countries which I think will fight. Pakistan, in Operation Sindoor, demonstrated that it can stand up to India. Yes, India caused a lot of damage to Pakistan, but the rest of the world outside India believes that Pakistan shot down 3 jets, and it also shot down a Rafale in the initial attack that India made during Operation Sindoor. So if there is a jet fighters from Israel coming and attacking Saudi territory, they can expect Pakistanis to fight back with Chinese technology and maybe provide some kind of protection. When Qatar was attacked, there was not a bullet fired in Qatar's defense, either by Americans or the Qataris or anybody else. So things have changed significantly that Pakistan will be expected to really to perform if Israel were to threaten that. Plus, Pakistan is a nuclear power, and so there is a nuclear deterrence against Israel. That is very important. So finally, Saudi Arabia, which has been craving for a nuclear umbrella for its protection, now gets one. If you remember, before October 2023, before Hamas attacked Israel, the Saudis were negotiating with the Biden administration to become part of the Abrahamic Accords, and the conditions that they had was, number one, that the Saudis should be allowed to have a peaceful nuclear program, and number two, that there should be a NATO-like security guarantees from the US that if anybody attacks Saudi Arabia, US will defend it. Biden did not extend both, and Saudi Arabia did not become part of the Abrahamic Accords. But now Saudi Arabia has a guarantee. Now we don't know to what extent Pakistan can actually will go to a war against Israel if Israel attacks. But I can tell you this much, that if Israel were to attack Saudi Arabia, and if Pakistani forces are on the ground there, they will have a fight, unlike what they got from Doha, Qatar, with 10,000 American troops there, not a bullet fired at Israeli assets which were used in the region. What does Pakistan get from this? For Pakistan, this is a lottery. Imagine this, if Saudi Arabia is going to rely on Pakistan for its national security, it will shore it up, which means that you can expect Saudi Arabia to invest in Pakistani defense capabilities. There will be joint exercises. I'm sure Pakistani troops will now be stationed in Saudi Arabia. There will be joint training programs. Pakistan will get access to some of the fancy toys that Saudi Arabia has bought from the US. US and Saudi relations are not over. Saudi Arabia would not have made this major step forward without talking first to Americans and also to Indians about it. So the fact that it went ahead shows very clearly that the Americans have not aggressively opposed this. This is one way for America to get out of being under Israeli control as far as their foreign policy is concerned. So for the Pakistanis, this is great because I think they will start getting more money to shore up their defense from the Saudis. So for Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, this is a win-win situation in many ways. For the Shehbaz Sharif and for Asim Munir, this is a big win, and this further reduces the influence of Imran Khan, etc. If other Gulf countries follow suit and Pakistan becomes basically Pakistan is replacing the United States as the security guarantor of the Gulf. If that happens, then Pakistan will get a lot of support from the Gulf countries to become a much more stronger country. But remember this, Pakistan doesn't come alone. With Pakistan comes China. So indirectly, Saudi Arabia is also developing a security informal partnership with China. So Saudi Arabia gives $2 billion to Pakistan. Pakistan goes and buys new jet fighters, new anti-aircraft systems from China. This is how it is going to work going forward. What does it mean for Israel? For Israel, well, for Israel, this is a problem, right? Israel was hoping for a normalization in the region, was hoping that Saudi Arabia would become part of the Abrahamic Accords. They would completely abandon the Palestinian cause. But now that's not going to happen. The Saudis and the Qataris are not ever going to join the Abrahamic Accords. They are not UAE. Look at Morocco. Morocco is irrelevant to regional politics. So they have a deal with Morocco and they have a deal with Bahrain. That's it. And UAE has also tried to flex its muscles by threatening Israel on the Abrahamic Accords if Israel was going to annex West Bank. So the UAE is also quite unhappy, and if there is another major attack in the region by Israelis, I think the UAEs will be under pressure to break the Abrahamic Accords, or they will become an odd man out inside GCC itself. Imagine if Qataris and the Omanis and the Saudis align with Pakistan, and UAE does not, and continues to be part of I2U2, and continues to be part of Abrahamic Accords, UAE is going to find itself very lonely in its own region. So for Israel, it's very complicated. It's losing what little friendships it had in the region. It is also upsetting many Americans, including MAGA people who think that America's foreign policy is now Israel first, is clearly undermining American national interests for Israeli interests. In fact, it doesn't even serve Israeli interests. This is all Netanyahu basically being at war endlessly so that he escapes domestic legal accountability. If the wars stop, Netanyahu is going to jail. And so he wants to stay at war. I think he's going to keep attacking country after country after country until his own people oppose him, because the United States is handcuffed by the lobbies here, the Israeli lobbies, the billionaires who basically have Donald Trump by the balls. He can talk big, but he cannot act big when it comes to Israel. So the only people who can actually restrain Netanyahu are the Israeli people. And if they don't, then we will see wars in the region for a long time. What does it mean for India? Now, this is a very tricky situation for India, because India has made a big show about punishing Pakistan. Prime Minister Modi has repeatedly said that Operation Sindoor is not ended. Operation Sindoor is on a pause. And if there is any terrorist attack anywhere in India, India is not going to waste time trying to explain to the world what happened or providing proof that Pakistan is behind that. India never bothered to explain to the rest of the world that Pakistan was behind Pahalgam. And the world did not buy that argument either. So India will simply unpause Operation Sindoor. But now they have a problem. And the problem is, if India were to attack Pakistan, what happens with Saudi Arabia? Will India also be at odds with Saudi Arabia? Will Saudi Air Force jets be fighting with Pakistan? Will Saudi anti-aircraft batteries be shifted to Pakistan to help it? Pakistan got a lot of military support from Turkey, a little bit from Azerbaijan, but China during Operation Sindoor before and diplomatically afterwards. So this is a very tricky situation for India, that going to war with Pakistan now means going to war with Saudi Arabia. Now, we must understand that this is a defense pact. So the good thing for India is that Saudi Arabia is not going to be a party to Pakistan attacking India. And Pakistan will not be a party to Saudi Arabia attacking Yemen, for example. Pakistan is not going to go along unless it is absolutely necessary for Saudi security. So I think the Saudi Pakistan pact may actually constrain Pakistan, and the Saudis will keep telling the Pakistanis, look, we will defend you if India attacks you, but you cannot do things that will provoke an attack which is justifiable, or you cannot attack Pakistan to initiate a war. And this is something that China is also probably telling Pakistanis. If India attacks you, we will defend you or we will help you. But you start a war with India on your own for some stupid political reason because Asim Munir wants to stay in power, or if Shehbaz Sharif wants to stay in power, or something absolutely idiotic like that, nobody is going to help Pakistan. Pakistan is going to be on its own. India can go in and kick ass, and nothing is going to happen. The Saudis will not defend personal ambitions. Keep that in mind. If you are a Pakistani military people, you're listening to me, keep this in mind. This deal is not a deal which empowers you to attack India. This deal will help you if India attacks you. So this is an important part for us to remember, that this is a defense pact and not a military adventure partnership. And finally, with China, this is an interesting thing that logically, like India ran as soon as Donald Trump started ill-treating India and made India nervous, India immediately ran towards China. So after 7 years, Modi goes to China, meets with Xi Jinping. Both Jaishankar and Prime Minister Modi have amnesia. They forgot about China's role in Operation Sindoor. They kept saying that our relationship has been improving steadily for the past 1 year. No, your relationship was not improving steadily since the meeting in Kazan, because during Operation Sindoor, Pakistan was firmly supported by China. Chinese weapons were used against India, Chinese jet fighters were used against India, and diplomatically, China has been supporting Pakistan in every international forum since Operation Sindoor. But the Indians pretended that none of that has happened when Jaishankar went and met Wang Yi, or when Prime Minister Modi went and met with Xi Jinping. They just pretended it was like wonderful party and we've been best of friends for the last God knows how many years. So while that was happening, China's importance became very important. If you are not friendly with the US, then you have nowhere else to go. Even if you are the world's fourth biggest economy and a major power, you still have to go to China. So now what has happened is that because China is such a close partner of Pakistan, Saudi-Pakistan relations also brings China into the deal. So if Saudi Arabia gives a $5 billion grant to Pakistan, Pakistan is going to use those $5 billion and go and buy weapons from China. The US will not sell weapons to Pakistan now. The Israeli lobby is going to make sure of that. So because they'll say, oh, any bomb, any missile, anything that you sell to Pakistan will be used by Israel. Of course, the Americans will not ask the question, why will it be used against Israel unless Israel attacks Saudi Arabia, right? But that will not be discussed. There's mental blocks here too, amnesia even in the United States when it comes to Israel. But it is a bonus for China. Without committing to the security of Saudi Arabia or the Gulf countries, China is now an important player, thanks to Pakistan, in the security architecture of the Middle East. As far as the US is concerned, I think this is a huge setback. The US is becoming increasingly irrelevant. The US under Donald Trump has become quite irrelevant to the security of Europe in many ways. The Europeans are now realizing they cannot rely on the United States. They have to increase their defense budgets. They have to find ways to defend themselves without the US. And the Gulfies are also getting the message now. So inadvertently, Donald Trump is reducing America's influence in two of the most important regions in the world, which is Europe as well as in Middle East. And the remaining important region, which is Asia, if I was a security advisor to the Taiwanese government, I would be having these secret meetings or meetings which are closed door about, oh my God, if Americans are not going to support the Saudis and the Qataris who spend billions of dollars, the Qataris gave a $500 million plane as a gift to Donald Trump and promised to invest $1.2 trillion in the US. And Donald Trump put all of that in jeopardy by allowing Israel to bomb Qatar. And it was a useless military exercise. It did not achieve the goals, the strategic goals that the Israelis wanted to kill the Hamas leadership in, in Qatar, the people with whom America was negotiating at the very same time. So, so from that point of view, I mean, it was a political advantage for Israel because now, again, Israel is at war, and so Netanyahu cannot be, put in jail, and so on and so forth. But the Taiwanese also will probably start wondering as to say, oh my God, if America is not going to support long-term allies like Saudi Arabia, and they can't trust America, and the Europeans can't trust America, in spite of NATO, in spite of all the civilizational connections and the Judeo-Christian connections that they have with the US, why will America fight for Taiwan? So this is really bad news for the US. But good news for China and Pakistan, and complicated news for India. India's whole idea of, oh, we will bat for both sides, we will play on both sides, is not going to work now. I'm sure India has had a conversation with the Saudis about this deal beforehand. The Saudis would have said, are you going to protect us from Israel? And India says, no, we are so close to Israel. We love the fact that Israelis are just killing Palestinians every day. How can we do that? We are even selling weapons to Israel. We are very important partners. Then Saudi says, fine, I will turn to Pakistan. It is quite possible that the Middle East might see a new alignment. Maybe India and Israel come very close because the rest of the Gulf now moves closer to Pakistan. I don't know. That's a speculative question. We'll see how that goes. So these were some of the issues that I wanted to share. There are 5 major shifts. And one of the biggest one is that Iran is no more the threat to the Gulf. Israel is the threat. In the past, Iran was the threat, and therefore everybody went to Israel and to the US for defense. Now it's the other way around. So that's all I had to share. And if there are some interesting questions or comments, I will address them. Otherwise, please watch me. I've been on lots of shows. I was on BBC this morning. You can see that show on BBC Live on the TV side of it. You can see me on the Lalan Top. I think it's on Dunyadari, and you can also see me on Satya Hindi. I just finished Satya Hindi. And of course, you can see me on my channels, and you can also see this video on LinkedIn. So please follow that. Jilani Sabun is here. Good afternoon to you. Miftal Huda, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Aditya Khadekar, why can't Pakistan focus on economics instead of geopolitics? Well, that's a question for the Pakistanis. This particular geopolitical deal with Saudi Arabia is going to translate into economic benefits, no doubt about it. Pakistan has a very small defense budget, maybe less than $10 billion. Some of it might be for corruption purposes that the military people steal. So let's assume they steal 20%. So they go from 10% to 10 billion to 8 billion. A lot of it is in maintenance and salaries. So Pakistan's shopping budget is very small, 4 or 5 billion, maybe 4 billion maximum. So now with the Saudi aid, Pakistan's shopping budget could increase, and they could actually buy using cash from China, more weapons, more advanced weapons, etc. So for Pakistan, this is beneficial in that sense. And military stability has always been important for Pakistan because military is so much a part of Pakistani state. Yes, Sabun, you are perfectly right. Israel is undermining US interests, literally abusing the US interest. Nothing has happened since Donald Trump. In fact, since October, you can say, while Biden was president with Donald Trump, everything that Israel did not advance US interests at all. And now with Europe completely so critical of Israel, with France and Great Britain and Germany and Belgium, all of these countries now so critical of Israel, the US is being isolated from its traditional allies in Europe and also its important allies in the Middle East because of Israel. And because the Israeli lobby has literally has Donald Trump and American foreign policy by the balls, that they cannot do anything. The US has no strategic autonomy in the Middle East. As simple as that. The world's biggest power has no strategic autonomy. It has to do whatever the billionaires in America who support Israel say. Yes, Aditya, there is a lot of bullying going on in international affairs these days. Uh, yes, there are not many questions, lots of comments. Uh, yes, Imanshu, there is a need for democratization in the Middle East. The Middle East will be far more powerful if it was more democratic. The more democratic it gets, the most powerful it gets. There is no doubt about it. Anurag, why should India criticize it? India has good relationship with Saudi Arabia. Is India going to become a lackey of Israel and break its relationship with Saudi Arabia, a major supplier of energy? You know how many jobs Saudi Arabia provides to Indians? So India cannot afford to, if you remember how quickly Nupur Sharma was marginalized, her career was finished. She was the national spokesperson of BJP, and she said one thing that upset people in Oman and Qatar, and that's it. She was gone. So yes, imagine if, God forbid, but if like there are close to a crore of people Indians who work in the Middle East, there's literally billions of dollars coming in remittances to India, huge trade relations with all of these countries. India is not going to jeopardize all of that just for Israel. While this government is ideologically aligned with Israel, they're beginning to see that that's not going to work. This government thought that it was ideologically aligned with Donald Trump too. But you saw what happened. That phone call is not a reversal of US policies. We will see if US reduces the tariffs on India and so on and so forth. I did a whole show on that. Please go and see that show. We will see how strong this deal is, if this is just Saudi Arabia using Pakistan to signal to America that America has to change some of its policies. Maybe America could come back tomorrow with an offer to Saudis saying, okay, we will give you your nuclear program, your civilian nuclear program, and we will also give you the kind of guarantees. Like Rubio went to Saudi Arabia, to Israel first, and then went to Qatar. I mean, how gullible are the Qataris to believe what Rubio, especially coming from a guy like Rubio? My God, I wouldn't believe anything that Rubio says. All he does is, you criticize Israel, I'll take away your passport. You criticize Israel, I'll cancel your visa. You criticize Israel, I'll kick you out of the country. You criticize Israel, I'll do this. That's all Rubio does, nothing else. Why would you take that person's anything guarantee? And he was not critical of Israel at all. Trump was to some extent, but not Rubio at all. So I don't know what Trump can offer to the Saudis. And I also suspect that the Saudis are going to, and the Qataris are going to move so slowly on all those promises that they made about investments in the US. I'll be surprised if anything happens in the next 6 months. Nothing is going to come. They're not going to spend any money on the US. And if Israel attacks another Gulf country in the near future, because look, Hamas is still in Qatar. They have not left. And the Americans have, Rubio went and said, please continue with your negotiations. So Netanyahu still has the same argument that he had previously to attack Qatar again. Will he do that? And I guarantee you, if Israel attacks Qatar again, and America does not stop that, then Qataris will also sign a deal with the Pakistanis. Because China is not going to fully commit to their security the way America was committed, at least in principle. Thank you, Vidya Hub. Thank you very much for your compliment. Anyway, so these are my observations, and thank you for your questions. Thank you for participating. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan. Take care.